Going to, Malloy sockers it off the ground, no way! That has to be one of the best goals you'll ever see in the AFLW, and of course it's Chloe Malloy.
G'day guys, I'm Pitty, that's Haz. Together we are the Fantasy Bros, and welcome to a special round one edition of the AFLW GDS season. We're going to just have a look at the contender team that I've currently got at the moment. We're going to talk through some players that you could be selecting in your side this week. We'll have a quick look at the scores from our St Kilda and Carlton game that started obviously last Sunday. And we'll just remind you of a few things as we approach the rest of round one, which continues, as you can see on screen there, Thursday night at 7:15 p.m. We have the next game in round one, which will be the Hawks up against the Demons at Icon Park. I think that'll be a cracking game in itself too, Haz. And I can't wait to be sitting down and watching that one. And then the men's just continues on Friday night, and we've got more women's games across the weekend. It's just footy, and I can't wait to continue watching it.
That's it. It is absolute footy at the moment. A couple double headers this week, obviously. Obviously we kicked off the season last week, so hopefully everyone has their sides locked in, ready to go. Obviously, you can make changes all the way throughout the weekend until everyone has played their games. But obviously, we have that one game at the end of last week for that double header. We could see there that Abby Mackay finished as the highest scoring player in that Carlton Saints matchup, 134 GDS points to start the season. But probably the most relevant player in that game was Serene Watson. I think probably is a plug and play in our backlines this season. She scored the 98 GDS points there, thanks to 20 disposals, 16 kicks. So, good start from her.
Yeah, and obviously Carlton got the win in this game as well, 66-40 when they played at Marvel Stadium. So it was a good win for the Blues. They're going to continue on. They played finals last year, and I think that's going to be their goal this year again. They look quite good. Dana Finn has a bit of a pod there in your midfield line of 119. Be okay with that. Probably want some more though. Like, I don't feel like there's too many scores in this game that are really going to burn you so much if you missed out on them. There's not a lot of fantasy relevance here. It's really just probably Serene Watson. It's a good score from Abby Mackay, but not many would be rolling her in their midfield. But yeah, that's probably the one down here, right? We've got probably Harriet Cordner, could have been someone you look at in your back line, and probably you played in your Sundays. I know I played her in Sundays, so 63, probably a bit disappointing. Yaz Dersma is 22s, under 22s eligible, and so is Poppy Scholes. They're both under 22s eligible. It's hard to know what a par score is in women's 22s at the moment because it's kind of the first game, but 63 and what was that there? 67. I would have loved a bit more, but that is what it is. Ash Richards, a 60. Yeah, a lot of people would have had her in the forward line. She was the 7th most popular player coming into round one, so she's very popular amongst the player base, and I think she had a couple of injury concerns as well in that game, Has.
Yeah, she did. I think she went off twice during the game. I think I checked at one point, and she was on about 40-odd points, came back on, managed to scrape away to 60. Obviously, once again, probably don't really know what pass might be in a forward line. It's probably going to be okay. It's not going to be extremely disappointing, but it's probably also potentially something that you might want dropping off at the end of the round.
So it's something that to note too for our new coaches in AFL women's as well, like what the scores are like compared to men's. It is a little bit different. So a 60 in the forward line for women's is not going to hurt probably as much as what a 60 would in men's in the forward line. So just be aware you've got to kind of adjust your expectations here. But an Aaron Fitzpatrick might be someone who you looked at in Sundays. I played her in Sundays as well. I think she averaged around 80 GDS points last year, so she was a bit underwhelming as well in this game. But I'm kind of glad I didn't pick too many players in this game in a standing comp. So I'll jump aside here into my contender team. We can have a look and see who I've put in from where am I ranked as well, just to check round one for contender. I'm currently ranked. I don't know if I did that on purpose. I'm currently ranked 67. All right. Geez, I'm an idiot. And then the actual team I picked out of that game, Serene Watson was the only player I had playing. I didn't play an Ash Richards in there. I was just keen more to watch an Ash Richards, in this game. I probably had a few others I thought I might pick instead. So hopefully what coaches get out of this by looking at this team is maybe just a few other names they can be looking at in their side. If you're not super confident with who you picked, if you're not sure who to pick, or if you just don't have those cards of those popular players we put out in our post, well, hopefully there's a couple others here you can keep in mind, and maybe we'll talk about a couple others as we go. But you can see my backline. We might start there with that backline. I've chosen Charlie Thomas from the Eagles, Tani White, Zippy Fish, Maddie Gay, Tilly Lucas-Rod, Serene Watson, and Ella Heads. That's my backline that I've rolled with. I feel like I'm pretty happy with that. Haz, like Tilly Lucas-Rod, they're going to be the most selected player defender, I think, from memory. Just looking at StatsLab there. I do need to pull that back up and double check, but from memory, they were the most selected defender. And there's some big names there like Serene Watson, Maddie Gay. You know what you're going to get from them most seasons. Just for our coaches, they're a very solid defensive option, even with a tough matchup for Maddie Gay against the Lions. I think that she'll be a pick there for us. And I've spoken in that preseason episode I did with Dill, like Charlie Thomas and her ball use off halfback, her ability to go through the midfield up against the Giants. That's a matchup I want to target a little bit with these Eagles. So you're going to see a couple of Eagles in my side here today. And I'm very, very keen on what they can do. But Ella Heads on the bench, we've talked about a Tani White. We've talked about a Zippy Fish in that preseason episode. And if you want to hear me talk about why they're really good picks, go check that episode out. But an Ella Heads is someone we didn't talk about too much. I'm very comfortable with an Ella Heads rounding out my backline in a standard competition because Port Adelaide had a change in coach and their game style has shifted a little bit as well. They looked to possess the football a little bit more in those preseason games. And it kind of coincided with some really nice scores as well for a few of their players. And I feel like Ella Heads is a quality player that can benefit from that. She provided coaches some really good scores, some solid scoring last year. So I feel like an Ella Heads is someone I'm pretty confident with in a backline this week. Just looking at that backline, how does that look compared to your side? Are there some players you're liking in that backline? Are there some players that I could think about? Or are there some players you haven't thought about in there?
So backline's the exact same except for one, and that's just purely based on the ability to or the inability to gain a bronze Tani White. So I don't have a bronze, so I'm not willing to play any salary on her in contender. So I've got Erica O'Shea sitting in D7 for round 1 against Geelong. Once again, tricky matchup, but I think I don't really love the look of anyone else. Maeve Chaplin's obviously injured, and McCartney's injured. Cambridge McCormack, not quite sure what that role might look like. Some of these higher scorers from last season, I think I'm just happy to kind of back in Erica O'Shea is probably the main ball user in the Kangaroos backline this week.
Yeah, I think that's probably no bad shout either. She provided coaches some pretty good scores last year too in that back line. I think maybe another couple names coaches could consider as well. Let me quickly jump across here. And I might even, before I do that, I'll quickly pull up our matchup data as well from StatsLab. If you have not signed up to StatsLab or checked it out, definitely consider it because, again, you get all the 2025 matchup data as a bit of a starting point, and then as the season progresses, it'll all start to filter through for season 2026. Last year, some of the better matchups you could target, it was the Tigers, the Dockers, the Crows, and the Hawks. They were good matchups to target for your opposition, or for your defenders, sorry. Someone who I think could be another shout, I know the matchup data may not suggest it based off last year, but it could be like a Jade Ellinger, for example, up against the Bombers, ball user off the half-back line for the Brisbane Lions. I think that Jade Ellinger is probably not a bad little play there. I know I've got her in Sundays, but she could be somebody else you look at in your back line.
Yeah, that was probably the one I was tossing up between was Ellinger or O'Shea. But just Ellinger scoring the preseason match against Geelong wasn't really didn't really fill me with a whole lot of confidence. So I'm just happy to maybe have a watch and see this week. But yeah, I think we're gonna play Eric O'Shea and then see where we go from there, what kind of roles and how everyone kind of scores.
Yeah, and plays for the Roos as well. Erica O'Shea, just for those playing along home, those new coaches as well, played for the Ireland team in the Australia versus Ireland match a few weeks ago. Looked good, so I like that shout. I think the midfield here is going to be pretty standard across a lot of teams. And again, for our coaches, you've got some big names that dominated the midfield in women's that you will want to try and have in your side. So Ebony Marinoff is probably the big one there, but group them as a group of 4, right? It's Marinoff, Gardner, Garner, and Riddell. They're going to be 4 of your biggest scorers across the season. Outside of that, you then have a blanket over a number of players. I think Kiara Bowers might be the closest to that sort of top 4, or maybe it's just a top 5 and Bowers is in that group as well. But Bowers is a very solid scorer too, with a really big ceiling for the Dockers, although she is a bit older. But my one I'm really keen on in the midfield, because there's lots of different ways you can go. Do you have a Charlie Rowbottom at your M6?
I
Your
do.
bench
Yeah,
spot here?
I do have Rowbottom over Roberts
Because
at the moment, but that does differ
I
across
think
teams.
Rowbottom's more popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rowbottom like across all competitions. So you could look at a Rowbottom there. But you could also look at an Ella Roberts, who I like. That Giants matchup, I feel, is one that she can get a hold of. We've talked about there's some chatter around the fact people think she's going to be a good chance to win the AFLW Best and Fairest. She could have a really big season. She's only 21. She's not turning 22 till after the conclusion of this season, and she's one of our under 22 stars. She was a standard play at times last year based on matchup. She's the clear number one best player for the West Coast Eagles. I think she's someone you could be pretty confident at sitting on your bench in your midfield spot to start the season and to kick it all off.
Yep, love it.
Ruck line. Now, this is where you can get some variation, I reckon. Lucy Wales is not going to cop a lot of love, I think, in this first week. I think coaches are going to be going towards either a Mim Strom, who I currently have here on field for me, or they'll be looking at a Matilda Scholes as well. I think Strom and Scholes will be your two most popular ruck selections across competitions this week. But I want to flag a Lucy Wales as a bit of a point of difference. The reason why is because top three rucks for women's, it'd be a obviously Strom, Scholes, Wales, right? You can throw an Ali Morfitt in there too. Ali Morfitt's quite good from the Sydney Swans. But I think the matchup there for Lucy Wales this week is one that's really tempting me into playing her. I don't know how much I love picking Strom and Scholes when they're playing against each other in the same week. I don't know how you feel about that, Haz, but it just doesn't quite sit right with me. I kind of want to pick one and then go another way as well. So for me, I'm trying to go the ruck I'm having the most confidence in with what I'm going to get. And I feel like it's Strom based on what she's done in the past. I feel like Scholes, she's a great player. She'll be a really solid pick almost every week this year. But Lucy Wales comes up against Melbourne, and they have Lauren Pearce, who's been quite a restrictive ruck. She's injured to start this season. She's going to miss a chunk of the season. And they have a debutant playing in their first game. Let me just pull it up as well. The name has escaped me here for a second. But I'll pull it up in the preseason because they played Port Adelaide in that preseason game, and it kind of flagged my interest as a possibility for this first game to target. Hose, I think, is the last name. Let me double check that here. Yeah, Jacinta Hose. That's right. So she is, I think, in her third season. She's had a couple ACL injuries. She's making her debut in round one, Thursday night against the Hawks. In the preseason game where they went up against Port, she obviously had to go up against Matilda Scholes. Matilda Scholes had 129 fantasy points, if you don't mind, from 35 hit-outs to Jacinta Hose's 9 hit-outs. So I just feel like Lucy Wales could really get on top of this debutante and cause some damage through the middle of the ground. And I feel like rather than picking a Strom and a Scholes against each other, I want to go one and a Lucy Wales, just to be a bit different as well.
And I'm with you on that call as well. I just don't like playing two rucks in the same game. Just having a look at the StatsLab play percentages across all standard competitions, it is Mim Strom, closely followed by Matilda Scholes, before it drops off quite significantly to Lucy Wales at only 24%. Played across all competitions, whereas the top two are all above 67%. So, it'd definitely be a bit of a pod, but I am also with you on that selection. I just think the matchup's there for her. And then, like you said, I think Mim Strom's probably just the more reliable pick in that matchup. And I know Scholes will be popular for coaches across all competitions and especially the 22s.
And it's not like Wales is an out there pod. Like Wales,
great scorer.
Yeah, she's a gun, and like she's been an all-star in the past for us in GameDay squad. She's got a ceiling. She's a really dominant ruck of the competition. So it's not as if we're picking a random pod here. Like this is a very good player who has a good matchup. So it's just one I wanted to flag, and it's why she's sitting at my ruck line there. In terms of the forward line, we've got Michaela Bowen, Bonnie Toogood, Ellie Blackburn, Charlie Mullins, Havana Harris, Courtney Hodder, and Tia Charlton. So there's a couple little pods here that I will talk about in a moment. But out of those, mate, who have you got locked away in your squad from that forward line?
Hodder, Bowen, Toogood, Blackburn, Harris, Hodder. I said Mullins as well. So two differences. I don't have Charlton in there. I played at Ash Richards at would that be F7?
Yeah.
And actually, no, that's the only difference. Yeah, one difference.
So otherwise, we're pretty standard. So
Yeah.
in terms of that forward line, then Michaela Bowen. So I think she's pretty good. She had a dominant game against the Brisbane in that preseason match. More of a midfielder for the Cats. She's had that nice positional change we spoke about in that preseason episode. So I think she's going to be a lock in most squads. Bonnie Toogood, super reliable forward for the Bombers. And even in a tough matchup against the Lions, she's won like a Maddie Gay. I'm pretty confident just picking every week. And Ellie Blackburn has a great matchup against the Suns. The Suns leaked points through the midfield last year, and I think if that continues this season, I'm not sure if it will. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, but I feel like an Ellie Blackburn's going to be a great pick in our forward lines with that nice matchup to start the season. And then, yeah, we've talked, like, obviously the Bombers, they're a good matchup there for the Lions, so it's going to be Mullins and Courtney Hodder. I think they'll be quite popular picks, hey?
Yeah, 100%. I think they'll be all popular. I thought a lot of coaches probably also thought as well that Courtney Hodder might get that mid status. So it's good to see that she kept that forward status and
Yeah.
is relevant once again this season. And obviously Havana Harris is up and comer, high draft pick from last season, who looks like she's going to take the comp by storm this season. So I think we're just keen to play her.
Yeah. Almost reminds me of like a Luke Jackson type operator. Could just
Can play
play anywhere. Like, sort of, you would think would be like a ruck or a mobile key forward, but can go on ball, just does everything around the ground. And from one of the preseason games I watched, or part of it anyway, it looks like she's going to have a bit of that license to run around there too. So I like that. It is a bit different. I don't know how popular she'll be. And same for Tia Charlton as well. I don't think she'll be too popular. Her bronze cards are quite tricky to come across. But she's going to be playing on ball at the Crows. They've had Anne Hatchard, who's moved over to the Gold Coast Suns. There's a spot there alongside Ebony Marinoff. And Tia Charlton missed last season as well. So she'll be coming back in. She played midfield to start in that preseason game. And it's just one of those things where I'm kind of happy picking a midfielder in that forward line, where I know that there's going to be access to points, and particularly in the first week, where we're really just watching a lot of these players and seeing how they're going, and we sort of get better informed as the season progresses. But I think I'm pretty happy with the Tia Charlton down there in the forward line.
Love it.
All right. So that is the contender side. Have a look and see what you think. The only other thing we might mention, mate, before we finish up, is just to keep an eye on teams as they drop throughout the week, and we see who is and who isn't playing, because there's every chance that somebody in this side may not be listed, or they could be injured, or they might not get a game, whatever it might be. In fact, see the little icon here for Laura Gardner, that little Q next to her name, that question mark. I think she's got a test to go through this week. I think it's Laura Gardner and Montana Ham. They're both going through a test this week to decide their fitness. If she can get up, I think we play her, but there is a chance that she may not actually end up playing. So just keep an eye on teams this week. We'll do our best to try and keep people informed, but it's the unique nature of round one, mate.
Yeah, that's it. 100%. It's always that filling out kind of phase. Obviously, last year when we first started playing women's, it was kind of not knowing what the scoring was like. And like you mentioned, just you can always base it on last year's stats and have a look, but it always changes year on year, and kind of what the roles look like, how the games are going, what the scoring kind of looks like. So it'd be good to kind of get the idea in round one, and then kind of have a solid base to go off for round two.
Yeah. And then before we finish up as well, just a reminder to coaches that we've already had one game played here, which was last Sunday, and that game has counted towards the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown. This game here, the next game of the round, Thursday night, Hawks and Demons, that will not be contributing to any special competition. That is just a round, that is a game as part of round one. So any player you play in your standard comps, they'll be locked out at the end once this game starts, but it doesn't contribute towards prime time. It's not like men's. There's no Thursday, Friday night fixtures for prime time. In women's, it is the Saturday slate of games that are your primetime fixtures. So primetime competition, we have the Kangaroos against the Cats. We have the Tigers against the Magpies, and we have the Suns against the Bulldogs. They are the three games contributing to the StatsLab primetime competition in AFLW. The remaining games will be part of the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown, along with those Blues and same players. So we have the Crows against the Swans, the Bombers against the Lions, the Power against the Dockers, and we have the Giants against the Eagles. So all of those games there are part of that FantasyBros Sunday Showdown competition. So good luck to yourself, Haz, in this round one. We'll see how we go. Hopefully we can secure ourselves another prize card this season. That would be really handy. And good luck to all our viewers, of course. And hopefully we can all have a good season together.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, good luck, viewers. Good luck, listeners. And yeah, best luck for round 1.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode by the Fantasy Bros. If you want to show your support, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Also, make sure you check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search @FantasyBrosAU.